trucks that you saw like dogs going up in it. That's different if there's a kid in the school with a gun. I thought it was something like that. That's why they're going nuts. So, hey, just let, I mean, I just heard from Victoria. Can you be ready? Anything you see, shoot it.
another one. There's another one up there. There's no way.
Just the amount of parents that are just waiting around.
Well, that's such a simple. You can see the reflection of the microphone. I literally thought that was someone waving like, oh, I was like, whoa.
I mean, they're probably like building
My son is in the school. My son is a senior here and was taking a test. And this was newsworthy, I think, initially because earlier this week there was a report of a student with a gun in school. And basically MCPS confirmed, yes, that there was this report, whether it was true or not, that the kid had a gun in the school. So all this week, frankly, on the parent listserv here through Bethesda-Chevy Chase High School, there was a lot of back and forth because parents weren't getting a lot of specific information. Was there in fact a kid with a gun? Was a kid allowed back into the school? Did they recover the gun? Was there ever a threat? So here it is from a situation that started on Monday as a report of a kid with a gun in school. Now it is Thursday. There's a report of a bomb threat coming from within the school. And I just being a parent of a BCC student myself, that's, I believe, what she was talking about. We know from other schools around the area, there are occasionally bomb threats called in. But I think what is tugging at the emotions here, as we see again, you've got this whole major roadway. This is East-West Highway going from Connecticut heading toward Wisconsin is closed, and more of a response keeps coming in with trucks and personnel, armed, SWAT folks. So again, it's not been confirmed that indeed there is a kid with a gun and a pipe bomb in the school, but that's the threat we're hearing, and that's why the response you're seeing.
Yeah, and you can understand the fear, the frustration, considering what the woman just told you. Also, you telling us that your son is at that school. There was no real resolution to the initial threat earlier in the week that was made, so you just kind of wonder what's happening here. Question for you, Bob. When was the last, notification you received from the school? When was the last time you got one today regarding this matter?
Probably about 15 minutes ago, saying that the IB exams scheduled this afternoon were canceled. They had earlier said the AP exams were scheduled. So probably in the last 10 minutes or so. And they had said, please, parents, don't come down here. But as you heard that lady who, again, asked us not to share her name, a lot of parents are obviously understandably concerned. And Marissa, I don't know, I haven't been able to talk to a producer. I know we have a second camera that has a different look down into the school. Have you been able to use that camera angle? And if not, it would be helpful because that's a better angle of the school. And in fact, so you're seeing from our second angle the front steps of the school, and we have seen, heavily armed SWAT team members continually arriving, heading on inside. They have canines going inside. There's a police helicopter up above. The people you're looking at from our camera angle are those who are running the drone. So I don't know what necessarily good a drone does if the threat is coming from inside a room, whether it's a bathroom, classroom, or what have you, inside the school. But they've got everything they're throwing at this here at Bethesda-Chevy Chase High School. I was going to say this morning. It's obviously 12:45 this afternoon.
Now. Yeah, they want to cover all of the premises, and we know full well East-West Highway, a major thoroughfare just down the street from our station here. I see some of the students in your shot, others gathered looking on. Describe to us the feeling that you're getting from people who are standing around wondering what's going to come out of all of this.
I'll be honest, Marissa, these kids are tuned in, and I would say they're not acting all too freaked out. In fact, there were some adults from, I don't know if they were, middle-level administrators or teachers who were telling these kids, hey, back off, get off, and settle down, because they were kind of treating this as it was like another occasion to get out of school. And even though there was this situation earlier in the week, I just from looking at them, and I have been speaking to some of the students, most of the ones out here, frankly, are younger because of this, for the upperclassmen, it's winding down, they're taking their tests. Some of them aren't even coming to school on days where there are tests that they're not taking. So what you're seeing out here are a lot of freshmen and sophomores. And again, that's why I'm reluctant to put them on live TV talking about this thing. But you see these kids here are just kind of wanting information and just kind of hanging out, and don't seem to be freaked out. It's frankly, some of the parents who are obviously a little more concerned. I've put the microphone down and asked some of these kids to call their parents and ask if it's okay if they talk to me on TV. But maybe some have gone home and are freaked out. The ones who are hanging out here seem to be taking it fairly well in stride at this point, at least. Again, because they've had to deal with this.
Yeah,
Not
as
maybe
you
to this
said-
level, but this kind of thing.
Yeah, some of the upperclassmen, as you said, taking final exams, AP exams, we know that happen at the end of the year, and perhaps some even on lunch, left campus perhaps. I was wondering why it was the case that there were so many students gathered outside. I'm wondering if they were, having lunch when all of this occurred.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them found out either in, text communications with their friends who were at the school and in the know, or as they arrived here and saw all the Montgomery County police cars blocking off the streets. And I mean, we're right across East-West Highway from the school, so we're very close. But those coming back for lunch were kind of greeted by police a block or two away. And we were actually on another side of the school, and Montgomery County Police asked us to move back up to East-West Highway. We were on one of the side entrances with a pretty clear view of what was going on, and they asked us to come on up here. So I think most of the kids who hadn't heard in phone communication with their friends found out as soon as they got back here from lunch. And again, they all walk about 3 blocks into Bethesda. There are a number of places right around here, and those are the kids you see out here who are coming back from lunch and are not allowed back on campus.
Hey, Bob, it's Steve. Just if you could recap for us and some of the folks who might just be tuning in right now. As far as the students themselves, we see the youngsters you just described, a lot of underclassmen who are outside right now. Some of the upperclassmen have been taking their exams inside. As of now, are those students still inside, or did everybody leave the building?
No, they're all inside, Steve, including my 18-year-old senior son who was in the gymnasium taking an AP exam when he said that the door opened and kids ran in, and he could hear adults in the hallway yelling at the kids to get into the gym, interrupting the AP exam. And I've been texting with my son. He's still in there. And so there are dozens, if not hundreds of kids. This is a huge school, huge student, very large student body. So there are a lot of kids still sheltering in place inside the school as we speak. A lot of kids who had left the property, left the school grounds, left campus to go to lunch are the ones who are out here with us.
Right. And I know you mentioned there was a couple of threats that seem to be going on at the same time, maybe one more mitigated than another at this point. But that also leads to the question as to why are they keeping everyone away from the school so far away, in some cases a block or 2 blocks away from the school, if the potential threat is inside and that's where all the students are?
Well, and I'll tell you what, in communicating with some of the parents here, the question is, if there is a bomb threat inside, why are kids still inside the building with a credible bomb threat? But if also the threat is that there's maybe a gun involved, do they want to have kids parading down the hallway with perhaps an active situation going on? So it's delicate and it's confusing because there is a threat out there. Kids are here being kept quite a distance from the building, but there's still some kids inside. And these are a couple of the students who I had said hello to and asked if they'd call their folks. Tell me, what can you tell me? Were you at lunch when this happened? Tell me your situation.
Yeah, so we were at lunch. We have open lunch, so we were in Bethesda. And then we got a message from our friend saying, don't come back to school. And so then we got an email and from Dr. Mooney, and he was like, yeah, we're going under lockdown and there's a bomb threat.
How are you doing? I mean, our anchors were asking, people seem to be okay with this, even though it's a very serious situation.
Yeah.
What's your reaction?
I think right now it just doesn't really feel real. It's sort of hard to wrap our minds around it. I think that's kind of how we're processing right now.
What are you hearing from your friends? Because we know, I've told our viewers, my son he's a senior here. He's inside the gymnasium, was taking an exam and is in lockdown there. What are you hearing from your friends who are in the building?
Well, my sister's in there right now, and she's in a classroom, and she says they're watching the news, they're waiting for updates, and yeah.
How about you? And have you been, you were in touch with your parents to say it was okay to talk to us on TV. What are you hearing from your parents in terms of their level of concern?
We've been under lockdown before, so I think that they're kind of used to it at this point. We're just kind of, waiting for updates because we still don't really know what's going on. I've heard from someone there's a gun. So I don't know. We're kind of just waiting it out.
Yeah, and because, I'm part of this BCC community as well, but I'm not always here when there are other threats. Have you ever seen a response like this? This seems to me to be at a different level. How about from your vantage point?
Yeah, it's definitely a different level. We've never really seen tanks like this, and yeah.
In the SWAT?
Definitely something new, yeah.
And how with your mom knowing that you have, or your family knowing there's a sister, their daughter, your sister in there, how are they handling this?
I mean, I'm texting my parents and they're just saying, like, listen to all the updates, stay away if possible. Yeah.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you for talking to us. And so, yeah, so this is kind of what you're seeing, guys. They've been through this before, sadly, you know? And this is not Uvalde, this is not Parkland. I mean, they've not had that kind of experience. We've had this conversation with our son, you know? We always ask, you know, when there are these situations, how are you? And they seem fairly nonchalant about it because, you know, these things have happened, but nothing in the way of a Parkland or an Uvalde or Columbine has happened. So unless, I guess, it hits you directly in an impactful and horrible way, it's just another bomb scare. It's just another threat. And so the kids you're seeing here are just kind of hanging out and want to know what's going on. Obviously, the kids inside, it's a bit of a different story because they're kind of trapped, although just in communications with my son, he seems to be handling it, you know, pretty well.
Yeah, Bob, it's interesting. You hear from the girls you were just talking to, and you know they're like, oh, well, officially this is what the school said via email, and then they hear obviously from their classmates what may or may not be happening inside. Is it the same case with your son inside, or are they getting a little more clear guidance, I guess, from the school or from teachers or from anyone inside as to what's actually happening?
Yeah, Steve, I'm so sorry. I know you probably just asked a thoughtful question. I was arranging to talk to another parent. Can you repeat that?
No, I was just wondering. I said, you know, it's interesting with the girls you just talked to, the fact that, you know, they got the email from the school, which had limited information, but then, you know, students talk and they were hearing bits and pieces as to what may or may not have happened. And I was just curious with your son inside now with the other students, if they're getting any better guidance from any teachers or school officials, the students who are actually inside, or if it's the same thing, they just really don't know what's going on. They just know that they can't leave.
Exactly, Steve. That's it. I'm sorry I didn't hear it the first time you asked. Yeah, he knows kind of what we know. You know, initially he had heard a report that perhaps the kid who was here earlier in the week was back with a gun. We don't know that that's the case. Then it was that, I'm coming right to you, okay? Then the word was that, oh, there's a bomb threat. And then it seemed strange to us that there was this kind of response. And then the word was, well, the bomb threat may be coming from inside the school. So he's been getting these updates as we've been getting these updates, as the parents have been getting these updates. This woman has a son who's a friend of my son who's inside.
Hi.
You're saying hi.
Hi.
What are you hearing? What are you knowing from your son?
Jake told me that he was told, Jake wasn't originally in school. When he got to school, he came back to school for lunch, and he was told, what he said to me was he was told to run to the gym. He is in the gym. I've heard from a couple of other parents rumors of shots fired, kids down. I heard from a couple of BC students on the corner that a single person with 2 pipe bombs in a rifle. I know Jake is in the gym seeming pretty calm, but...
What do you make of this? Because I know Jake and Jimmy, my son, is in the gym too. I mean, they've dealt with this kind of thing before on a different kind of level, it seems.
I think it's disgusting to me how calm my kid is. That this has become so normal and so everyday that my 18-year-old son is in there conditioned to be okay with this. That's what I think is horrible. That
I hear you. Powerful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good to see you. There you go, right? I mean, that's lays it right out there. There was here. I had a couple other students. Hey, thanks for coming over. What is it? I mean, we're hearing a lot of stuff. Are you hearing the same thing? Anything definitive that's coming to you?
We know that I've heard and seen photos of people barricading doors with desks, and I have photos of like the police officers coming in with like the full gear and the guns, and they're like searching the rooms very thoroughly, and the students have to like hold their hands up, and that's pretty much all I've heard. I've heard a lot of rumors about like a suicide bomber kind of thing with the gun, but like it's a rumor and there's no like we know it. But I have heard that the AP Spanish tests have been voided.
Yeah, the note came out that the AP test and the IB test for this afternoon. So I'm assuming like anybody here is not going back into school.
I came for the AP bio test and I parked and there were cop cars passing me the whole drive and I just didn't know what was happening. And I walked by and they were like, just like go, like you need to go to East West Highway, like you need to get out of here. Like you can't be on Shelton or whatever. And it's just like, oh, what's happening?
That's where we were earlier and they kicked us out of there. So obviously you're yours is one of the tests that's been canceled.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? We just heard from, I know this mom, Jake's mom, was upset by that, how, like, in a sense, nonchalant students take this because it's happened before.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think looking back in probably a couple hours once it's wrapped up, I think students will be more like, whoa, like, very grave about it. But in the moment, I think there's a lot of like stress happening, and so students are using humor to like try to deflect and just not take it seriously. Like, I know, like, I'm smiling at everything because I just like physically cannot be like, oh my god, like my friends are trapped in a building with a bomb threat, like, and there's like a powered tank just drove by, like, what is happening? So I think it's just like, in a couple hours, students are probably going to start feeling the effects, and I think the school should have resources ready for that.
I'm sure they will. What is your name?
I'm Josie Abate.
How do you spell your last name, Josie?
Abate.
Thanks, Josie. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right?
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That was great. And again here, I don't know, we have students here. I've seen some adults. I've asked if there were any teachers or administrators out here, and everyone I've said hello to are parents or passersby guys. So if I see someone who I know or appears to be an administrator, I'll try to get more information. But it's weird, and I mentioned earlier, Steve, I don't know if for viewers who weren't on earlier, that there was a situation on Monday, supposedly a student with a gun on campus, and it took a while for MCPS officials to confirm that, but the information was just so, slim. Like, there were no details. And so, even later today, there's the chance that the parents and the kids who are, being caught up in this, what you're seeing here right now, a report of a bomb threat and maybe a gun and a person with the bomb or bombs and a gun is in the school. The details, the confirmation just may not come. It's weird how, parents on the listserv get fired up that, like, why aren't we getting more details? And they often just don't come.
Well, they may have to sift through everything, just like the student just told us, going room to room, making sure everything is okay and on the up and up. We do have a helicopter shot that we did show earlier of the school overhead. There it is now. But Bob, I'm curious to know, in terms of the road closures, the scene looks very massive around Bethesda-Chevy Chase High School. What can you tell us in terms of not just the lockdown, but the close down around that area as they investigate?
This is, well, you're looking right here. This is East-West Highway looking straight into downtown Bethesda. And so this whole, you can't even come up. This is like, Pearl Street here. If you're here, there are people leaving from some of the office buildings here. Like the Consumer Product Safety Commission is headquartered right here next to us. So you got that car is leaving the office complex, but nobody's coming in. And as we spin all the way around here, this is, and you see this guy's about to put up another drone here. This is Montgomery County Police. They've had, even though it's kind of breezy and windy, they've been putting their drone up to help kind of scope out what's going on here. But this is East-West Highway. These are one-way lanes coming, about a mile down the road from Connecticut Avenue, heading west toward Wisconsin Avenue, and it's closed. Some people, I guess, are being allowed to turn down the street on the east perimeter of Bethesda-Chevy Chase High School, but you can't drive by here. And initially you could, and then it just kind of got locked down as more of the heavy machinery, the trucks, the equipment, the personnel kept coming. Kept coming, and there goes a drone about to go up and take a look at things from the air.
Yeah, and the number of drones have been up there throughout the day. Bob, we can let you know, police have let parents know, or they're letting us let parents know, Lynbrook Park is where they're going to have a family reunification area if parents are interested in meeting the students. Now, we don't know if that means that they're going to release students to that area to meet with the parents. That word we don't have yet, as far as if that means students who are already there and are just looking to have a safe place to meet up with their parents, or if they are going to actually release some of the students who are inside with the plan of meeting up. But nonetheless, that's what they're talking about, is Lynbrook Local Park, where they will have a family, as they call it, reunification area. But no details, again, on if that means they're going to release anybody from inside the building. Bob, I'm just curious from your perspective as you're out there. Obviously, you spend years and years of your life with your kids there at BCC. You're standing outside there right now as well. You hear from all different types, some of the kids that are more relaxed, some of the parents who might be a little bit more tense with the situation. How's Bob Barner doing?
You know, I don't get emotional. I hate to say it. I've covered a lot of bad stuff. I don't get emotional. But when I was talking to Jake Simmons' mom there just a little bit ago, I almost welled up because she was so upset that her son was, forced into a gymnasium. If you don't mind doing this, guys, my son is 18 and I've got him on the phone. I was going to have him call into a different line into the station, but let me see if the quality of this will be okay. He's inside the gymnasium, and I've covered this kind of stuff, so it doesn't usually get to me, but yeah, you got your son trapped inside a real situation. It's a little different, but I'm also just trying to do my job and stay calm and provide as much, accurate information as we can. But let me see if you guys are cool with that. Let me see, and you let me know, Steve and Marissa, if you can hear him well enough that it's worth doing this. But Jimmy, tell me where you are, what you're doing, and what kind of word you're getting.
Right now we're in the gymnasium. We're taking the AP Spanish exam. So a bunch of people kind of ran in, and teachers told us to stop taking the test and sit along the wall. So there's probably 100 or so of us, maybe 150, sitting in the gym along the wall, and we're just kind of waiting to get let out, which we've heard might be quite a little bit.
And let me just, Jimmy, hold on one second. Guys, can you hear that all right?
Yeah, Bob,
Yes.
it's fine. Go ahead, and we wish Jimmy the best. But just curious what it was that he heard initially, what he was told initially, what that scene was like, if they heard anything out of the norm before they got rushed into the gymnasium.
Exactly. Well, Jimmy was in there taking a test. That's right, Jimmy. You were in there taking a test. I talked to Jake's mom, who said he was rushed into the gym. What did you hear, Jimmy? What information was coming to you, whether it was, what you were hearing independently or what the school was telling you officially?
Well, we were in the exam, so we couldn't really hear anything. But then a group of probably a dozen or so kids ran in right off the bat and said, they're screaming at us to come in. So I think the security guards were really kind of yelling at them to get inside, to get in the gym. And then another dozen or so kids came in and said that cops were coming in and telling them to run as fast as they could, was the quote that I heard. And people cops with machine guns and, shields and stuff were coming in. And, it seemed like a very large response for what we thought was just kind of a bomb threat, which is obviously not great, but it happens, decently often. So, we thought that was just a pretty big response, but yeah.
And Jimmy, has that information changed? Because initially we heard it might be someone with a gun. Then we're hearing pipe bomb, a kid maybe in a bathroom. Is that the sense you're getting? Is that the threat may be coming from inside the school?
I mean, that's what we heard when we were just streaming your guys' news. That was the first time that we really heard of that. The initial thing was that someone had a gun because there was someone with a gun in the school on Monday, so people just kind of assumed that was what it was. But then we heard bomb threat and a gun. Then we heard no gun, just a bomb threat. But hearing on the news was the first time we heard of anything coming in from inside the school itself.
Yeah, and then we were hearing that, Jimmy, and also speaking to our viewers, and you see this guy here, I think he's one of, they just brought him from wherever, guys. That's why this guy's wearing shorts, but he's in tactical gear as well. They were just bringing in people from all over to, be part of the SWAT response here, and that's what you're seeing. Jimmy, in the past, there's not been anything this crazy or wild in terms of the response, right? You've had other, what would happen on a typical bomb threat? Would you see police roaming the hallways, and would everybody be yelled at to get inside a classroom or a gymnasium or the cafeteria?
No, this was definitely different. We might have a cop or two show up if there was a bomb threat, but this just seemed not overkill, obviously, but this seemed like a different level. And just the urgency right away when they were yelling at kids to run as fast as they could to get into a secure location. Definitely, we could tell that something was different. And yeah, this definitely seemed like a lot more of a severe response than normal bomb threats would be.
And Jimmy, have you heard anything over the loudspeakers? Have school administration communicated with those of you who are locked into classrooms and spaces like the gymnasium?
Well, I know the gym, the loudspeakers really aren't that great. But we haven't heard anything. About 10 minutes into the lockdown, at probably 11:55 or so, we heard the kind of standard, this is a lockdown, please stay inside, the kind of usual message. But some people have been getting service with their phones because it was an AP exam. A lot of kids don't have their phones. So a lot aren't in contact with their parents. So if any parents of kids in AP exams are listening, everyone here is okay if they haven't reached out. But yeah.
Hey, Jimmy, thanks. That's actually a very good point. And sometimes the cell reception isn't all that great inside the school. So,
yes, Chris. Go ahead, Chris. You can come to us. Thank you. Thank you. Got it.
Or whatnot, but pretty heavy gear walking through a classroom with their guns and kind of flash the reassuring hand sign to some of the students there. So I'm sure that was probably comforting for them.
all right, Jimmy, thank you very much, buddy. And I may call you back in a bit. Before you go, Jim, hey, Marissa, Steve, any questions for Jimmy, who's inside the school that I haven't thought of?
One, Bob, I'm so glad to know that he's okay. I do want to get him on the mood of the students in that gym. What are they saying? How are they feeling?
Yeah, Jimmy, Marissa Mitchell asking, our colleague here from the studio, asking the mood of the students that, you know, you can see and that you're with and you've talked to there in the gymnasium. Jimmy, did you copy that? Jimmy, did you copy that?
Yeah, about the mood of
Yeah.
Well, right off the bat, people were like very panicked because just like the way that the message to get inside was delivered was very panicked. But then after like 15 or so minutes, people kind of cooled down and just started, you know, taking the group chats and seeing what was going on, what the word was. But now I think everyone has been hearing on the news and through what the school hasn't said that the threat's been, you know, taken care of or whatever, or that it wasn't a legitimate thing. But people have kind of gotten that word now, so people have eased up and are kind of more so just ready to get out of here.
All right, some better
I'm sorry,
news
Jimmy,
there,
what
Bob.
was the word they're getting?
Bob, I'll tell you what, Bob, I'm
sorry,
going to let
Steve,
you keep
one
talking
second.
to Jimmy, Bob. We'll let you keep talking to Jimmy, making sure he's okay. I want to get to Stephanie Ramirez right now. Stephanie is in a different location than where Bob is right now, so let's check in with her because she's been able to get some new information for us from where she is, and then we'll check back in with Bob and his son in just a minute. Stephanie?
Sure, guys. So we just spoke with Shira Goff, the communications director for Montgomery County Police Department, and what she confirmed is that they do believe this is a type of swatting call that schools and businesses have been receiving all across the country. I'm told in about 10 minutes they do expect that what is going on at the school, that this is going to be handed over from police to the school system, Montgomery County Public Schools. What Shira told us is that at around 11:23 this morning, Bethesda-Chevy Chase High School had received a call, the person indicating that they had firearms and that they wanted to cause harm to the school. Now, she didn't go into the exact detail of what the caller said, but what we're told is that that caller was then put in touch with a school's community engagement officer. That's the SRO role that was updated. So again, community engagement officer, and that officer then got to speak with the caller. Then the officer deciding that more of an investigation needs to be done. We're told K-9 and SWAT have been working. We've been hearing from students and seeing photos on social media showing the SWAT officers inside the school classrooms as students are in there. I'm told SWAT did clear all of the bathrooms. K-9 teams are still working to clear the rest of the building. A little bit before 11:30 is when they called a shelter in place, and any students who were already outside at the time, they were told not to come back in. We are speaking with students here. Michael Mandel is a junior here. I did speak with his father and got permission to talk with him. Michael, thanks for talking with us. Your thoughts, tell me what you think of now that, and I know you're smiling because your friends are around, but this is a serious thing. What do you make of the fact that you're hearing this is a swatting call, given how long you've been sitting here not really knowing what's been going on?
I was shocked. I was in McDonald's actually with my friends. We were leaving the parking lot and we saw one cop car come in, which is typically surrounding the school, so we thought nothing of it until we actually got there and we started getting pictures from our friends who stayed in to take tests during lunch, and we saw 8 police officers with full auto rifles and SWAT cars, and I was shocked. I was shocked.
You're a junior here. Have you ever experienced anything like this at the school before?
Nothing like this caliber, I would say. We've had false bomb threats and stuff where you're locked in for about an hour, but nothing of this kind of sort. There's Like, I can't even count how many cop cars are outside.
And Michael, I know, there's a lot going on in the world. The question is, do you feel safe in school?
I would say I feel relatively safe in school because I know that we're lucky to be in a city that is surrounded by police stations where they can get very quickly to us.
Hold on for a sec, sorry. We have a police car backing up. I don't want you to get here. Go ahead.
They can get here very quickly. We have a good security team, and we usually have cops outside of the school, so I feel pretty safe coming here.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience. I'm sorry you had to go through this today. Please continue to keep us updated, if you will, about when you go in. Again, thank you.
Right.
It's not easy to talk on news when you got all your peers around you watching. But guys, you're looking at different police departments leaving, and I will tell you, this was a significant response. I did speak to sources. This is the 2nd district for the police department, but we were told other resources. 3rd district was also in here assisting, and that is help that's taken away from other areas of the county to respond to this. So there are some 911 calls that our police department was not able to respond to today or got too late because of what is going on here at Bethesda-Chevy Chase High School. We don't know yet, please don't curse, guys. We do not know yet what kind of charges this could be. We were asking the spokesperson with police what maybe if they knew if this was a juvenile or an adult. What I was told was they believe it was a male voice involved, but we don't know at this time, again, what kind of charges this could be or who exactly was calling, whether this was a student. So again, in less than 10 minutes now, you see police leaving. They do expect to hand over the investigation here to Montgomery County Public Schools. But once more, though, unfortunately, they believe this is another type of swatting call incident that businesses, schools, restaurants all across the country are experiencing. I'm going to send it back into you guys. So we're still learning more here. But again, this is the scene out here at BCC.
All right, there you go, Stephanie explaining, and that word coming in from police just a short time ago, and they say that this all started more than an hour ago when a call came in and numerous threats, and perhaps that's why there was some confusion as to what the exact threat was, because as you heard from various students and people inside of the school building, they weren't even sure what was going on because it seemed like it was a bit confusing when it came to what the threat actually was. But Stephanie now telling us that Montgomery County Police believe the whole thing was made up, that they were it was an attempt to draw as many police officers to the school as possible, which then she talked about, Marissa, obviously that takes them away from potentially responding to people who really need the help.
Yeah, and it also explained people talking about the weapons that were potentially used, because on that call it was, I have firearms and I plan to do harm. That's what police said, but at this point they are investigating this as a swatting call. So now that we have that latest information, we want to go back to Bob Barnard, who's also live there at the school. Bob, what do you make now of the latest update?
I mean, if that's what indeed this was, what a shame, right? I mean, all this, worry, heartache, commotion, resources. I've just spoken to one of the police kind of plainclothes folks leaving, saying, look, I'm not saying this thing is over, but we are starting to move some assets out of here. Joining me is Greg Flynn, a parent of 2 students here. Greg, I know I saw one of your sons out here. One of your sons is inside. What do you make of this? They're saying now that it might have been a swatting situation where someone called in a fake threat just to see what kind of response they could get.
Well, this is a very big response, and certainly an understandable response to that type of threat, whatever it was. Go ahead.
What do you make of it? With the son inside who's about to graduate.
A lot of concern. You're helpless out here waiting for information, and he doesn't have any information, and we just keep communicating with each other, making sure that he's okay. About every 5 minutes we're asking him.
So you've been able to be in touch with them?
Been able to communicate with him, yes.
We hear some kids who, my son Jimmy was saying that some kids were in the gymnasium who couldn't bring in a phone because of the exams, and so had no way to tell their parents specifically that they were okay. But you heard all along that they were fine. What was Andy saying in terms of the scenario there and what was being done and communicated?
He really didn't have any information other than that they were on lockdown. He was with a couple of his friends, and he was okay. Status for him was okay, and that was great news.
I mentioned he's about to graduate. You got another one still here. And there was a situation earlier in the week where a student supposedly had a gun. How do you wrap your head around it and keep everything calm as you can?
Just a lot of concern for them doing their normal everyday activities, going to school. You really think of this as a safe place, or like to think of this as a safe place, and I'm sure there's steps they can take to make sure it is a safe place. And I think we probably need to take those steps because this is too worrisome for anybody. Nobody should have to deal with this.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Thank you. longtime friend Greg Flynn, who's got a student in there, and guys, and we'll kind of show you. I mean, here behind me here, this is East-West Highway, which is still closed off at this point, but we've seen people a little more casually walking around their trucks and vehicles here. And if Stephanie is correct, and if this is how police are going to frame this as it was a bogus threat, it was obviously taken very seriously to the point where, I mean, they blocked off streets, brought in SWAT dogs, heavily armed officers, and if one call from one joker can do this, isn't that a shame?
Well, it is. It certainly is. And the worst thing that you want is we see some of the heavy equipment leaving the scene now, Bob. So that's a good sign that the police are confident in their assessment of the situation so far. Listen, you can't take any chances in a situation like this. You don't know what could have happened. And that's why you had such a heavy response when it came to the emergency response, the police response. What you don't want is any kind of copycat situation now that folks have seen this response, because you got to err on the side of caution when it comes to this, because as you've been documenting throughout the morning, Bob, there's so many kids' emotions at stake, parents' emotions at stake, lives at stake potentially if it was in fact a real threat. So the response is certainly valid and vindicated. You just hate to see it come from a false place to begin with.
Yeah, but you have to take every threat seriously, and they certainly did that today. Bob, do you feel better? I mean, we're talking to you as a reporter, but as a father at least, knowing that this was bogus.
I'll tell you what, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely glad that this wasn't the real deal. I mean, obviously, but it just, the emotions that went through this. Guys, before we leave, there are two seniors here, Pierce and David. I just want to ask you, David, were you in school when this was going on?
I wasn't in school, no, but my brother was in there, so I was very concerned.
And how do you, we're hearing now that this was a call to police, a swatting type call. That was a bogus call, even though some people were hearing that it might have been a call made from inside the school. What do you make of this with 2 weeks left to go in your senior year?
I just think it's mediocre right now. Like, why do something like that, like right now, when school's about to end for the summer? Obviously, I don't know the full context of this, and maybe the deal will come out later, but like as of now, I can't really say anything.
I mean, Pierce, what's your reaction?
It's just sad, and I don't know. There's really no explanation what we're feeling right now. Just want to go home and make sure everybody's safe. That's the main thing.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for speaking to us. Thanks, guys. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I think that, probably like Greg Flynn was and Jake Simmons' mother was earlier that we spoke to, just disgusted by, what their kids and they have had to go through. Glad that it wasn't the real deal. I mean, oh my goodness, glad that nothing really bad, catastrophic, deadly happened, but just the fact that, you're, as Greg Flynn was saying, you want your kids, they're coming to school to learn, to take a test, kind of finish out their school year, and they're having to deal with this.
Yep, no doubt about it, Bob. You're absolutely right. 100% glad that everybody's safe, glad that the response was there, if in fact needed. Bob, we'll let you put your dad hat on for a minute. Hopefully you have a nice reunion with your son there, who is still inside the school. Then Bob's reporter hat stays on as well. Thank you, Bob. Great coverage as always. Bob's reporter hat stays on, because we're going to continue coverage as it is warranted. We're going to switch over to our Fox Local app, though, which we do every day at this time anyway. And if anything else obviously changes in this situation, then we'll let you know then and have a full wrap-up starting at 3. But fortunately, Marissa, in this case, it turns out that it was, in fact, a false alarm. You hate to say it, but it was. Apparently, somebody called the police out in a swatting incident.
But at least the kids are okay, and that's the most important thing. Back to your regular programming.